welcome everyone from your various locations and your time zones. Here in Hong Kong, we're around about 45 minutes away from our first race at Happy Valley tonight. So just saying to the guys before, they obviously didn't get the note about the dress code. And we are in the members area here tonight. So now back in a previous WoTA webinar in March 22 last year, Hong Kong Jockey Club gave you all some early insight into plans that we had for developing a new B2B bet-by-bet protocol for commingling, known by the very not Web3 title of the Racing Wagering Information and Transaction Integrity Protocol. Since then, some of you may know that we've started building a platform that we're calling the World Pool Platform to host commingling via this new bet-by-bet transaction protocol on Hong Kong racing and also on our World Pool events. At the core of this, we're building a platform using Web3 technologies, smart contracts and distributed ledger technology at the core. However, we really recognise this is just very much a case of us dipping our toe in the water in this form by using Web3 as infrastructure. We know that Web3 is a lot more than this, and we know that while the space has really been buffeted recently by some high-profile collapses and some overall market downturns, it remains a key recruitment space for our future customers. At the Asian Racing Conference earlier this year in Melbourne, Australia, our Executive Director of Wagering, Michael Fitzsimons, previewed some of the areas we're developing at the Jockey Club, Hong Kong Jockey Club, related to what we might call the Web3 lifestyle. We are already supporting a group of influencers in Asia and in Hong Kong. They're also known as KOLs, to build their own networks around sports, around horse racing, and entertainment through party events and live streaming on YouTube, on Facebook, and also importantly on Discord. And we use these in conjunction with our own race meetings. We allow them to include our live broadcasts within their events. We're developing apps and displays that draw on crypto and day trading experience for our customers betting pari-mutuel on horse racing. We are also aiming for that frictionless user experience that we've seen from trading apps developing over COVID times when it comes to the actual trading and betting transactions. We do know that our customers in the past have been happy to go through some of the difficulties we've presented them to bet on racing, but it's not something that we want to do in the future. We want to get to those seamless and frictionless experiences that we see with some of these trading apps that have been so successful in recent times. However, Hong Kong Jockey Club's developments are small steps compared to some of the products and experiences that our speakers here today are going to share with us. We're going to hear about the next generation of virtual racing, about life in the metaverse, and also about tokenization of real horses and virtual companions to those. Our first speaker tonight is Vincent Caldwell. He's the CEO of VLR. He's the founder and majority shareholder in Virtual Software Limited. Vincent's created and designed, Vincent has created and has been a designated licensed official for wagering groups across 6 international jurisdictions. And he's been licensed as a betting operator in Ireland, the UK, and a number of US states. He's worked in the US racing sector for 10 years, living in Florida in the years 2003 to 2013. I think most impressively, Vincent was inducted into the Sports Betting Hall of Fame in November 2021, recognising him as a pioneer of online betting. So without further ado, after that, Vincent, please take it away and welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for that kind introduction, and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, from all parts of the world and all time zones, as we've referred to. I think it's fair to say we're talking to you at a difficult time for racing, and we're facing some crises for sure. Some of the big operators may disagree in that they see their numbers are not suffering as much as some, but I certainly see that, you know, with what's happened in Singapore and the instant close of the track there in 2024, the protesters at racetracks, we've seen that in several jurisdictions all over the world, and at home here with the UK commissioners, you know, the government trying to implement unworkable betting practices, frankly. Myself and a group of racing enthusiasts, I just think it's time for change and a new direction, and definitely time for the implementation of new, fresh products to attract and engage a different audience, a different generation. We need a younger demographic of player and a wider global audience of participants. To that end, I will keep this brief in 4 or 5 slides and then turn it over to the new innovators who will tell you where we think we're going for the next 10, 20, 30 years. And I've put together 77 believers. They're not the Magnificent Seven, they're the Magnificent 77. And if you put the first slide up there, VK, I'll walk through it. And what we have, you know, these people that I've put together are patrons, shareholders, licensed in many jurisdictions around the world. They're pari-mutuel operators, they're bookmakers. We have trainers, racehorse trainers involved in this. We have soccer players, golfers, you name it. We've even got a Rolling Stone. We've got all sorts of people here and racing enthusiasts and want to invest in the business going forward. They have generated between them billions of dollars in pounds and euros in betting handle, and they've raised tens of millions of pounds for a number of different betting projects, some of which I've run for them. Over the last few years, their pet project has been virtual live racing. And we saw that obviously the betting shops and the bookmakers believed in this product. 1 in 5 betting products is now a virtual product. And, you know, I believed that the pari-mutuel business should have their own virtual live racing products. And that's what we built. And we're trying to bring to you guys as betting operators these products, which we think will help bring a younger player to the business. We've built Ascot and 7 USA tracks, and those tracks will be launched from the Isle of Man in Q4 2023. It has not been easy. There's been regulator battles all the way. We fought for 3 years to get our license in Oregon, and then had it abruptly removed, no other way to put it, with objections from lottery companies and Native American companies who, not to us, but to another person who came into the marketplace and wanted to put them into Class 2 slot machines. And we had promised we would never do that. So they got very upset. They caught us in the wording because they banned historical racing. And we unfortunately had to pull down our operation there. And now we've started to put an operation into the Isle of Man, where I've lived for 18 years. And some of my partners have recently attained a license in North Dakota, where the reception for virtual, let's say, is a lot warmer at the moment than it is in Oregon. If we can flick over to the next slide, please, VK. So where are we now? As I said, we've built 8 race courses. We've got Ascot amongst that. We've got 7 USA tracks. I'll show you in the next slide a little demo of the tracks. The majority of our products have been launched and tested in a live betting environment in the USA. We had an agreement with Tote, and we've done a number of wagering there for about 18 months in the United States. The one thing it did prove to us is it did prove the concept. We had a situation where we only put it out to a number of operators, but we know that the demand is there. You know, if you expand the number of operators, there definitely is a large revenue share to be made from virtual racing in the United States and indeed other places in a pari-mutuel format. So we're in the process of expanding our presence on the Isle of Man. We've got a new software license, which will enable us to service our B2B partners there are 78 licensees on the Isle of Man alone. A number of them have already agreed to take the products, and I have a number of USA companies who have agreed to take the products when we launch in a couple of months' time. We can have the next slide, please, VK. So what's next for us then? You know, we obviously, a big part of what we've done now is to win over the ASCOT board and have the ASCOT board support us. As you can see, you know, that racecourse for 300 years has been innovators in this industry. You know, from, as we say here, using, you know, the first racing colors in the world, number of the horses numbered on the race card, all sorts of things that they've done. And we see that obviously now with the Whirlpool and the Hong Kong operation, that's another hugely successful venture that they're on. And we want to see that, or they believe that with us, that the virtual live racing is another product that ASCOT should be involved with. We've obviously built a track, and we are going to push that product into the United States. We're going to push it into online and bricks and mortar operators. And we know by dipping our toe in the water, as somebody said earlier on, that there is a demand there for it. So if we could just run that little demo, please, VK. Oh, our volume's not working, unfortunately. So this is the ASCOT product. Everything here is actually real. That we went in and filmed it with the National Geographic team. So the grass, the rails, the turf, the sky, the trees, everything's real. This is Hawthorne, Chicago. Tampa Bay Downs in Florida. And of course, we split the screen for the American audience. Another recommendation in the trials that we did, the players said they wanted a split screen. Derby Lane, unfortunately now a closed track, which again is relevant to the conversation we're having, the fact that here we are, you know, running a track now that has already gone. And we have the same with Palm Beach Kennel Club, which is after this, another track which unfortunately is closed, but can live on in the virtual world. And as you can see, we've done some dogs, we've done some harness, and obviously thoroughbred. So just the next slide then, VK, the last one for me, and then the younger generation can jump in. So as well as launching ASCOT and our USA tracks, we're putting together a team. We're building more products for the pari-mutuel Tote operators. Most operators in our sector seem to be focused on casino and historical racing products, and we will invest another 6 million sterling into gaming products in 2023 and 2024, which will be suitable for pari-mutuel operators. We've had Jake Warren come and join the team with his high clear stud. Jake owns the stud. I don't know if you've seen the movie of the show Downton Abbey, but that's Jake's home when he was a child. He is from a family steeped in horse racing history, dating back over 100 years. I think everyone remembers Queen Elizabeth was very excited when she won the ASCOT Gold Cup in 2013. And Jake's father was sitting by her side. Jake was the racing manager for the Queen, and he's also the racing manager now for King Charles III. He's a consultant for the Jockey Club. He's a principal advisor to the Sheikh Issa in Bahrain Turf Club, and he sits on the Thoroughbred Horse Racing Industry MBA Advisory Board. So he's a great asset to our team and will help promote our business globally for us over the next few years. Joint ventures, you'll hear from VK now shortly after this, is one of our joint venture partners to bring these new Web3 type products to the world. We are going to build 4 new grade 1 tracks. We're in discussions with 6 or 7 tracks at the moment, and 4 of those will be chosen and 4 of those will be built, which are tracks at the same grade level as ASCOT. And a key reason for that, of course, is, you know, we initially, when we started this project, we thought if we went to the horsemen initially, it would be very difficult to get through the door. So we started with greyhounds, then harness, then to the racing industry. Ask It has now opened a few doors for us, and that's where we're going to go in the future. And it's just been difficult path, and it's taken so long to get to where we are. But we feel now that we're ready to progress with those extra tracks. We have 90,000 live races now, which we get offered to the betting public from the island here. And we've also, unfortunately, in my view, had to turn to fixed odds because so many Tote operators are accepting fixed odds virtual products. I just cannot see why a virtual live pari-mutuel product should not be up there beside their virtual fixed odds products. We've also had bookmakers come to us, and I have over 210,000 betting outlets that will take the products in August when we put the products up. So those will be fully launched in the Q4 of 2003. So VK will now take over and walk you through our thoughts on Web3, Tote pari-mutuel games, their deployment, and our future. I hope.
Thanks very much, Vincent. So I'll just introduce myself quickly. As Vincent mentioned, we are one of the potential joint venture partners for VLR, where we are bringing in a lot of different products and rails, if you wish, as we call it, the global rails, to help every Tote operator get into the Web3 world. And as I like to call it, let's not call it Web3, we can call it Tote 3, because this is Tote 3.0, and I think that is the word everybody should be using, at least in this forum here. So going back to today's interest and why everybody is here, it's about creating the next level user experience, right? And what does that mean? If you are trying to attract a new demographic that is heavily influenced by their value systems, what they believe is right and wrong, and only wanting to deal with corporations which will adhere or accept their value systems, this is something which is very important to keep in mind. We see this every day, where if something doesn't fit the value system of the new generation, they are very active and vocal about it. And we need to be giving them what they want in terms of us wanting to attract them to our products and doing a mutually beneficial business. So to that end, what we offer here is, the global rails for building and deploying Web3 or Tote 3 pari-mutuel games to users in a matter of days. It's been in the work for a very long time, and we'll tell you the considerations and where the infrastructure is for all of those things to come into reality. And what we can do is also go beyond the horse racing world into other parts of the pari-mutuel setups, which can include sports, politics, financials, casino games, and you name it. And the three pillars, which are very important when we talk about the new generation's attractiveness to the product, is a Web3 setup, giving them a chance of ownership and being a part of it through NFTs, and of course, an experience which brings their real lives into the virtual worlds as well, right? So we're going to talk a little bit about that in the next slides here. In terms of the rails that we've built, we need to go where the users are. We can't ask them to change their behaviors, their habits, what they are used to, what they trust. And if we are talking about the Web3 users, then we need to have the rails which will make it possible for us to offer the products where they are already. And when we look at all the different potential, DLT environments out there, as Wayne was mentioning before, and you do an analysis across a few key parameters, like which one has the largest amount of active users? Are there being daily active transactions processed in the millions? And are there products and partners on it already or being built, which will keep on increasing this? So that's sort of like the network effect, right? It's like Facebook. If 100 of your friends are there, you're going to open an account on Facebook rather than going to another social media platform, which might be better, which might have more bells and whistles, but if nobody's there, it's not going to work. So it's very important to have that in mind when we talk about Web3 as well. And of course, in the end, it also comes down to the cost of use and speed. So you can't have a very popular environment like Ethereum, but then the cost of use is tremendously high. So you can almost take out the micro bettors. Anyone below $1,000 is not going to make a positive return on investment, so to say, and the speed of transactions. it's very important as well. So all these things taken into account, we have built our global rails where you can have access to 550 million users with 250 million active transactions being processed every day. It has low cost, it's very fast, and it is the fastest growing chain, which will continue to increase. So on the right hand side, you can see a brief comparison between the likes of Ethereum, Polygon, T0. There are of course many more, but like I mentioned, if you want to get the players, you need to be where they are and make it very easy for them to get in as well. So what does that mean, easy for them to get in? Now, you need to provide them an easy on-ramp and off-ramp, as they call it in the Web3 environment, which means how do I bring my money to the Web3 environment if I'm not already there? And if I want to take it back, how do I take it back? So to that end, we have built in our Rails on-ramp and off-ramp where people can come in with their bank account transfers, credit cards, debit cards, Apple Pay, Google Pay, you name it. Of course, if they already have crypto, even better and easier for them. And they can even take it back through our partners with providers for that, where they can essentially take the money back to the bank accounts and have a very clean route for that. I think this is very important for the users. Now, we go where they are, we make it easy for them to get in, but what is also very important is to give them something they want, which is fitting in with their value system. Well, what do I mean by value system, right? I mean, the word gets thrown around. And as I was mentioning before, the new demographic is very choosy about who they interact with or who they give their business to. And unless we are in a space where we can provide them instant gratification, but also the values they're looking for, it's not going to probably work. So everybody agrees that yes, pari-mutuel or fixed odd doesn't matter. The centralized providers today are relying on certified RNGs, for example, and other formats, but Web3 can provide them the transparency to the level that they expect. So it's not a black box where they have to go on a platform and trust it and trust the providers and the regulators. They want to check it out for themselves. So the Web3 environment gives them the chance to have that full transparency and say, yeah, no, we get it. We want to have a great experience. We want to play games of chance, games of skills, but now we know how it works and we can verify it on chain and everybody can do that. That is actually quite important for them. The other thing, of course, is the new generation wants to have a little bit more than discounts or clawbacks or rakebacks or however different promotions we can be offering out there. They want to own a piece of the pie. Yeah? And the way to do it is allowing them to own certain digital assets, which might be part of your gaming environments. And these are called NFTs, non-fungible tokens. So each digital asset is represented by an NFT, which gives them various different benefits beyond that. So of course, holding an NFT of a horse might give them certain access to experiences, certain discounts, certain clawbacks, rakebacks, whatever we want to call them, but they own that piece, which appreciates potentially in value, which is something they are also very happy to have. And if, for example, certain of these digital assets or NFTs are performing very well in a virtual game, they can actually even make money by renting it out. Now, all these things are not existing in the Web2 or the Tote 2 environment, but definitely the Tote 3 environment can give the users what they want, the new users, the new demographic, which is still on the outskirts, seeing visible to us on the horizon, but we just need something new and shiny to bring them in and make it in an easy manner, right? And of course, beyond that, what our Rails have is the safety or the security that, for example, the Isle of Man regulators have already looked at some of the smart contracts and accepted that. We even got a license issued from them based on the Web3 technologies that are in place on our global Rails, for example. Yeah. So just something to give an idea. Of course, technologies change, and we would have to do this again with the regulators when the time comes, because every few months there is a new development in Web3, which is very important also for you as the operators to consider that when you are looking at Web3, it will not be as stable environment as you're used to, where you built a legacy system that lasts you for 7, 8, 10 years. Right? You need people who are going to be continuously updating the systems, the backends, the smart contracts to improve on the security and continue to give the people the experience they want and actually where they are. Yeah. So important things to keep in mind in terms of how we get there. On top of those base infrastructure layers and the on-ramps and the off-ramps for bringing in the liquidity. We have a Unity-based real-time rendering engine, which can give the users metaverse experiences. Now, these can sit on top of or alongside existing products. So, for example, the Ascot Racing is a virtual live product, which we have there. And if you want to build a metaverse project where you also have horse racing with the NFTs, well, it can be an add-on, for example, right? So this gives you a chance for upselling, cross-selling, however you want to think about that in terms of the digital experiences, which actually the users want to embrace. It's also very important to know that this has gone through a lot of talk in the last 18 months, metaverse, right? And everybody knows, for example, or hopefully knows, the statistics that came up. For example, if you look at something like Decentraland, yeah, which tried to do metaverse gaming, they've got an average of 28 active users per day. It's an abysmal number. And while everybody is hyping up the metaverse products, it's important to note that how do we fit into the user behavior? Remember, the new generation wants instant gratification. So yes, while they want rich media and immersive experiences, they lack the patience for a scene to load for a few minutes and get into it. So you still need to make metaverse environments where they can still get in and out of within 2 to 3 minutes and still play a game, engage in the behavior, and so on and so forth. So when we build products, we are looking at that aspect as well. Of course, for experience, you have the full product, but then parts of the product, like the games in Metaverse, can be made accessible in this 2 to 3 minute time windows. And that's very important to have both of those things so that you can cater to both elements, whoever wants to access it in whichever way. Yeah. If you want to walk around 10 blocks and look at every table, you can. But if you just want to go to a specific game, you can as well. And the other thing is, as I was talking about the digital assets part here. Now, NFTs are great. Wrap our digital assets into pre-formatted packages and sell it to you. What increasingly is in demand is custom NFTs and wrapped NFTs. For people who are not familiar with it, essentially means I don't want to buy a pre-formatted digital asset, but maybe I want to create my own. So as you can see here, if you're talking about horse racing, you can choose a breed, you can style it as you want, you can change the color of the hair, the skin, the tail, the shoes. You can change, for example, the body size to make it more muscular or leaner, however you would like it. You can choose your jockeys, the jockey's clothes, you can choose the saddle, you can choose the colors of the saddle, and all these things have different weightages in terms of the virtues we want to give to this digital asset. And all these are combined and calculated in the background as you are selecting all the different parameters for the NFT types. And then it gives you a price in terms of saying, this is what you have selected. Even while selecting the options, you can get the price for everything. You get to the end, and it probably also gives you the price as well as what does this horse point value look like in the game itself. Now, the point value is calculated in the background, so saying, hey, you've got this, I don't know, I'm colorblind, so maybe this is like a pink golden color, right? Which is on the hair. That gives you a 5-point advantage over the brown hair, for example. Things like this. All these things can be done in the back end, but this is where you give the people a chance to own a piece of the gaming environment in the form of a digital asset. Now, if they go and buy a different jockey later on, because now they've got more money or just want to try something different, well, you can unwrap the original NFT, sell the old jockey, and put the new jockey back in. That's the flexibility also they want. They don't want to be stuck with something. They want to have the flexibility on that. So all these things are rather important when we talk about what is it that is going to attract the new age player to the Tote environment, right? And beyond doing all of those things, it's very important. Now we are where the users are, let's say 550 million users. We've made it easy for them to come in. We're giving them the experiences with the metaverse in a long tail environment or a short instant gratification environment. We are giving them the NFTs. We're giving them the choice to create it themselves. It's still important to look at the other ones where you say, hey, do I have a partner who has access to the best centralized exchanges out there to give our games an instant step up? And that's very important to look at. So whenever you are marketing a product, make sure you've got the right partners who are in the Web3 space, who are going to give it the right kind of visibility you want. And then, of course, create systems where now they've owned the NFTs, but is there an on-platform mechanism for them to monetize their digital assets by either selling it or buying new ones or renting them out for in-game purposes. Those are the things which is very important. And as Vincent was saying, like it or not, you have the fixed odds people out there where they say, hey, I know I'm putting in $100, but I'd like to know what I'm getting back right now, and that's it. And so you might want to cater to that. What we've got, where I've got a patent pending, so I have a US PTO patent on time incentivized pari-mutuel, which runs to 2032, and we have another patent pending now where we have a reverse pari-mutuel fixed odds setup, wherein essentially you as a pari-mutuel player who is attempting to go into fixed odds can have a ring-fenced capital exposure, and the smart contract will handle that for you. Now, I'm not going to go into the details for that, but I'm just saying it needs to be considered when you're going to the Web3 environment. Do you want that optionality because the users might want it and you want to test around with it, right? So from an infrastructure perspective, from the value system fit perspective, consider all of these options when you are considering any product on how to build, who to build with, where to build, and how to bring it to the market. And of course, me and Vincent are always here if you have any questions for us. So I'll stop sharing now so that I can see if there are any Q&As for us. Is that okay, Wayne?
Well, thanks, Vincent and VK. What we might do, if it's okay, is we may hold the questions till the end.
Okay.
It could be that that Bobby and Konstantin will cover some people's questions, but also it'll allow us to try and stay on time a little. So we'll hold the questions off now and take them at the end, if that's okay. And should allow us to move on to Bobby Chow, who is the Chief Operating Officer and co-founder of Vertex Labs in the UK. Bobby, would you like to come online?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. Pleasure to meet everyone. I'm still suffering a bit of a hay fever, so I'm trying to keep focused. But I'll start to share the presentation and go straight into it. But pleasure to be here.
Great, thanks, Bobby.
Thank you. Right. So Vertex Labs, we have been an early adopter of so-called Web3, Metaverse, Web3, AI. We have been an infrastructure provider. We usually sit behind IPs and brands organization to become their, let's call the IT department, helping brands and helping sports organization to realize their vision in Web3. So that's who we are, Vertex Labs. As an infrastructure provider, we powered ourselves with a decentralized real-time edge rendering. In our views, the Web3 as a word, as a terminology is a bit confusing because a lot of people are still sitting Web 1 or Web 2 and what is really Web3. It's quite a confusing terminology, and the speed of the industry growing is surprising because within a 2-year period, the Web3 word has dominated the press, dominated the technology industry, and everybody's start to talk about Web3. But how many people actually understand what Web3 is? It's a big question mark. In our vision, and the reason we sit behind brand and we sit behind companies is we understand it's not a very easy topic to explain to the end users or to explain to the audience. In our view, there are two major pieces here when we work with organization, with brands, with company who want to realize the vision in Web3 or to interact with the young audience. I think there are two parts here, which is education and fun. We got to educate the demographic, the young demographic. What is your industry all about? And also when they participate in the environment or in the user experience that you created, they got to have fun. They got to enjoy that journey. Otherwise, they're very easily to ditch or to give up on participating in the event or the environment that you created. So for us, the education and the fun piece are important. They go hand by hand to introduce the so-called Web3 concept. Talk about education piece. usually when we work with brands and work with organizations, we tend to introduce the brand first, or introduce the organizing first, to make the demographic, the audience, understand what is the organization is all about, what this industry is all about. We've got to take the time to educate the young demographic about your industry. So usually we would support you with a museum type of educational piece in the metaverse. So the audience can walk into your museum, can interact with you, can speak to your AI avatar, to discuss, to asking questions, could search the data they need, to search the topics, the answer they need, and really give them a presentation piece about your industry, about the horse, about the whole industry, and slowly going through a journey where they can absorb knowledges before they interact with you, because they have they have a complete different mentality. They got to feel safe. They got to feel they understand the industry before they jump in. To force them into any type of game experience or interaction it's not the way that how Web3 young demographic interacts with you. So in our eyes, the educational piece is quite key, and which we think is probably 70% of weight, 70% of importance to make sure that everybody understand your industry. I think the second part of the journey is the fun piece. Play to earn is not a new concept. It's been in the industry in the Web3 industry for about 2.5 years, but it's still very welcome in the industry, because the young demographic, they like to be part of the gaming, but they also like to benefit to earn throughout that game experience. So we created in our metaverse a gaming called Metaverse, which is a horse racing or cyber horse racing to duplicate the whole experience from breed, trade, and race. So through only NFT, a customized NFT, they can now participate in a game. But if they can't afford the NFT, they can share the NFT. They can share the NFT purchase with their friends, with families. Or if they still can't afford it, no problem. They can rent or asking for read the NFT for someone to earn through their hard work. And on the back of that, they can train the horse, they can then trade the horse, and they can raise the horse. So that what we call the fun piece, to give them a reason to come back to the metaverse, come back to the gaming, rather than force them to come into the game. And then the next journey require the fun piece require hardware support. Through software, there's only so much you can achieve, but the hardware piece allows the user to have a completely different experience. I'd like to share with you our own metaverse. How do we vision the metaverse? And hopefully after that sort of 1-minute video, I can give you a bit more information. So we created a 10-kilometer by 10-kilometer metaverse city, where brands or organizations to have their own buildings, museums, whatever type of the format they like. So the user can come into the metaverse, artwork to enjoy the metaverse experience, but not only coming to the metaverse for the purpose of just a horse racing piece. It's a city environment where everybody can enjoy their music, their movies, and as part of their time, they can come into the horse racing museum to learn about the industry, to interact with the gaming part. So it's a lifestyle business. How we see the metaverse will help brands and organizations to interact with the young demographic. I think I'll leave it for now to our colleague to present their piece, and that's how our vision and how we can help the WoTA Association to realize the vision. Thank you.
Thanks, Bobby.
Thank you.
As for the last speakers, if you would like to raise any questions now, you can through the Q&A option, and we will put those to the panel of speakers when we get to the end. At this stage, we will move on to our final speaker for this event, Constantin Garot, who's the Director of Innovation at PMU in France. Constantin and his team are building new games for PMU, where players can own virtual horses that are also linked to real horses and to the experiences that the real horses have in the horse racing industry in France. Stables is a fantasy game where you can buy, customize and play with officially licensed digital horses. So on that, I'll hand over to Constantin, who can take us through it. Thank you.
Hi, hello everyone. So thank you for having us today. So I'm Constantin, the Innovation Director at PMU. And definitely we are working on, the idea today is to share some insights and learning about a project we launched a few months ago. So I will go through the why of the project and then the how, and I will share some learnings from the results of the first months of the project. So first of all, we are PMU. So PMU is a French operator, so a very well-known operator, one of the largest betting operator in the world, with a volume of over 10 billion euros in betting. We have as well a strong network, a strong distribution network with more than 13,000 point of sales and bet shops in France. And we considered at PMU during the last year that we have a recruitment issue. We were unable to attract people coming from some persona, and the main one was, how do we attract and recruit new players who are mainly new generations of players between 18 and 35 years old? Do we have a recruitment issue, or maybe do we have an issue with the story we tell to our players? And the idea was really to rethink ourselves as a company and to launch a project to move from gambling to gaming. Assume that we could tell a brand new story by moving from gambling and betting to gaming, and that's what we did. We have as well an issue which is related to our point of sales and shops, which are not always attractive for the youngest ones. So the idea was really to say, okay, maybe do we have audiences that we know that they are not current players or current customers of PMU, that could be a good test and a good pilot for that kind of initiative? And that's why we launched Stables with a simple pitch. The idea was really to say, okay, could we build a game, an NFT game, which would be very accessible to people who have absolutely no clue about horse races? Do we build something which is highly related to reality, allowing people who own an NFT to live the full experience of horse races? Can we build something in a very iterative way, thanks to the community of players and gamers? So can we learn a lot from these new players and new customers for PMU? And we have some answers to share with you guys. So What is Stables? So Stables is a pretty simple fantasy game where you own a digital horse. So it's a unique horse with some specific attributes. And this horse is related to one real horse running in horse races in France. So to do so, we have agreements with France Gallo and Le Trot. We are using their data, their race results, and some medias as well. And as a owner, you are the unique owner of a digital twin of a real horse. And thanks to this digital horse, you are living a full gaming experience based on 3 different pillars. The first one is the results of real races. So when your horse is running a race and winning a race, you earn some points. And these points will allow you to compete in additional games. The second one is that thanks to this horse, you will be able as well to live some real life experience in the horse track. So it means that if Cuba d'Urville is running this afternoon in Paris-Longchamp, I will be able to attend the race of Cuba d'Urville exactly as if I was the real owner of this horse. So I will have a sort of VIP and money can buy experience, which is deeply linked to the ownership of this digital horse. And then I am part of a community and of an evolving game where I will have multiple ways to play. And what we did is that we launched a project at the beginning of, so we launched a communication at the beginning of January 2023. We launched a project mainly 1 year ago. And what we did is that we built a strong community of a bit more than 35,000 people coming from all around the world. So it's brand new for us because we have now a sort of international B2C activity, which is new. And what we did is we sold all the NFTs at the end of March. So we sold 6,666 NFTs at a price which was mainly 100 euros per horse. And we sold the NFTs in less than 3 days to our community. We used a whitelisting process, allowing people to take part of some quests and challenges in the community to be whitelisted. And we have whitelisted, coming from 85 countries, and we have holders and buyers coming from 65 countries. So that looks attractive for people coming from everywhere. We have a strong ambition based on 3 pillars as well. So we want to be a fantasy game leader in the Web3 focused on horse races. We still want to have the mission we have in France at PMU to finance the horse racing industry. So at this stage of the project, we are financing the French horse racing sector, but we want to extend this footprint to other countries. And we still want as well to be a pioneer. So we don't want to copy something. We are not there to copy what Sora is doing for soccer. We really want to reinvent the way to play around horse races thanks to this game. And you will be able, thanks to the fantasy game, to attend and to participate in 3 different races. The first one is something pretty passive, which are the real races. Then you have hybrid races where you can register your horse, attend the horse, take some strategy decisions, add some equipments, add some fun in the race process. And then you will have some virtual races, which are mainly social events on our social networks. We are still working as well on the roadmap. So the first part is the launch of the game, which will be, so we launched the real races a few weeks ago. We will launch the hybrid mod in the coming days, and the virtual races during the summer. We want as well to answer some requests coming from our community and our first customers. They are asking us to think about breeding. So the idea would be to add some digital horses, which would be babies of real horses. So we have to handle some breeding mechanism in the game and make it fun and making as well meaningful to understand the horse industry, to understand what are the activity of breeders, owners, trainers, and so on, to really make them excited by what happened in the horse industry. So we are working a lot on the breeding mechanism, and we want as well to add a strong community and strong communitary experience. And so what we did is that we are building a sort of virtual jockey club where people will be able to share some insights, data, feedback, medias, and so on. They will be able to share the ownership of a unique horse, for example. So they will be able to build their own stables with a team, and they will be able to rent their horses and so on. So as of today, we have some regulatory stuff to handle to make sure that we are fully compliant. As PMU, we are very regulated, and we cannot be in the gray zone for Web3. So we work very closely with regulators to make sure that what we are currently building is compliant. And that's why we are definitely in the gaming zone and not in the gambling industry. We think that what we are currently building is quite a strategic move for PMU, because we are pretty sure that one day the regulator will open this space to some gambling or betting mechanism. And if we are already there, we will have a strong competitive advantage on this dimension. So the community is still growing quite a lot, engaging a lot on our social networks, sharing some amazing experiences on horse tracks and so on. I have quite a lot of insights as well about our customers. So these people, 91% of these people never came to a horse track. So that their first steps in this industry, that's their first step in this universe. And we have, at this stage, 5% of them who opened an account to bet online at PMU. So it means that it makes the horse industry and our would say legacy activity attractive for people who have absolutely no clue about what we are currently doing. What are the next steps? So we are definitely looking for partners. It could be technological partners, financial partners, but as well, we want to build some strong partnership with other countries, because we need to add some additional horses. When you live in South Africa, for example, you may be excited to have Eagle Hunter, which is a French trotter running, racing in Vincennes in Paris. But I think that the magic will be to live something with a horse which is near where I live, and we really want to add that kind of proximity between our players and the horses. So we need to add additional horses. We really want as well to promote races from all around the world, because we think that it's a huge ecosystem, which a lot of value for our players. And we want as well to make sure that the experiences, the real life experiences we offer to our players is something scalable and suitable in every single country. So we really want to make some strong partnerships to offer to our, I don't know, a player in Hong Kong the ability to attend the race and to live the full experience with a strong interest. So please feel free to reach me if it could make sense for you. And thanks a lot for listening.
Thanks, Constantin. On that note, we will move on to Q&A for our panelists and presenters today. We do have one question that's come through already for Vincent. Vincent, you said that virtual live racing has been made for a younger audience, a more interactive audience. Do you see any opportunities for future conversion of that younger audience from virtual live racing to real live racing? And how do we trigger that conversion?
I think what you'll find is that, you know, with as we talked about earlier on, some of the crises that's going on in racing, you have a number of people who will not bet on the real product. They will not bet on the real product because they think it's got corruption in it. They think it's got fixed races in it. Or they think it's got money laundering in it. They think it's got, horses getting injured or killed. There are lots of negatives in the real sport at the minute, unfortunately, in the world out there. A lot of female ladies that I talk to say that they would prefer to play the virtual products because those virtual products don't have any of those things going on within the product. Also from the viewpoint of the younger generation, I see that, in the numbers that are out there in the virtual products that are being built and played in Europe, a lot of 25 to 45-year-olds are playing those products as opposed to what goes to most of our racetracks, which are 50, 55, 60-year-old plus. So yes, I do believe there's a conversion. We look at the sports betting world. When I started Bet Internet in 1999 and floated on the London Stock Exchange as the first online betting company to float in the stock exchange, the next thing we went into was casino after doing our sports book, and it was very difficult to convert people from the sports betting into the casino and vice versa. That seems to have changed a little bit, and it's changed principally because the female population are playing slot machines, and the same sort of thing here. I think that will grow over time.
Great. And Bobby, if you're still there, you mentioned in your presentation around the education angle and application here. Some will say that horse racing can be a sport that's a little bit hard to break into as a participant, not necessarily owning, but just watching races and picking races. Some of the other sports are involved in cricket might have that same thing for half of the world, even though half the world know about it, the others don't. Can you see any angle for using Metaverse to educate and engage for horse racing?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm in that sort of age group, I would say. The horse racing industry will probably interact through in the education journey. The content and the distribution are equally important. So the creation of a quality content and also the way of distribution together is, from my own view, I think Metaverse is the best place. If you made that education piece, the journey, fun and interesting, with quality content, young demographic will interact with you, will come and spend time in that journey. If you literally just display and don't have any interaction, then they will come and view for 30 seconds and then they will leave. But with the technology we have in place, you can actually monitor where they spend the time throughout that, let's call it so-called museum journey, where you can analyze why they spent 3 minutes here, but only 3 seconds here. So this is what technology can help. And with the Metaverse sit on blockchain, all data are transparent. As Vincent mentioned earlier, if you're using the blockchain technology correctly, the transparency and it's a key. It can be benefit that customer journey rather than using for the wrong reason. So I think, yes, absolutely. I think for a generation like myself, a Metaverse journey with the correct educational content, with the correct education process, it will be very attractive.
Great. Okay, and Constantine, there's a question here that's been asked about what can you tell us about the profile of the players, the customers in your audience?
Yeah, sure. So I can share some details. So what we did is that for the first sale of NFT, we really wanted to focus on Web3 persona. So it means that we really focused on people who already have a wallet, who are pretty familiar with blockchain, NFTs, and so on. The idea was really to focus on some audiences which are not overlapping with our existing customers, just to test the power of the narrative with this brand new game. And so we focused on NFT degens, so people who are really familiar with blockchain, and gamers. And what we did is that we have, so as I told you, 90% of people coming from Web3 and gaming, which is roughly well distributed, so 50% of each. And we have 10% of PMU players, which are mainly the youngest one between 18 and 30 years old, who are, I would say, sensitive to gaming and to other stuff around horse races. These guys have absolutely, for the newcomers, they have absolutely no clue about horse races. They do not bet at all on horse races. 65% of them already bet on sports. And they have, for 75% of them, they have some betting behaviors. So it means that they buy some sneakers to resell somewhere, they buy some cryptos and so on. So they are really sensitive to the to the blockchain or Web3 experience. A project in a bear market where prices of NFTs are, because it was a good way to test the sustainability and the power of the narrative. So it did not succeed because of the market. It succeeded because we have a strong value proposition for these guys, and they were super happy to identify what they call a serious project in the middle of scams and other trouble in this market. But definitely they are between 85 and 35, living in 65 countries, roughly distributed between America, Europe, a little bit in Africa, Middle East, and Asia. And you have 65% of them who are male and 35% which are female.
And any of the real owners of the horses got involved to try and buy the virtual twins of their horses?
Some of them are trying to understand the process. To be honest, they are a bit lost in the whole Web3 onboarding process. They are interested in new ways to address these audiences, and I can share a feedback. So one of our players is building team of e-players. So they are esports company. They bought 250 horses because they really want to try the game, and they paid some players to understand the game, understand the mechanisms and the tokenomics of the game. And they came last week to Paris-Longchamp, and they were discussing with France Gallo because they wanted to buy some real horses. So they have absolutely no clue on how to buy a real horse, but they wanted to really invest in the racing industry because of the game. So that's a good way to show the added value.
Can I just add to that? I mean, one of the things that has happened is Jake, as I said, Jake Warren has come to us with his Highclere stud. And Jake sees, you know, he breeds some of the best horses in the world, including the horse that won the 1,000 guineas last year at Newmarket, and, you know, deals in very expensive horses all year round for many years. He sees this as an opportunity as well to maybe put some of the breeding into the Web3 world. Now we're still working on how we do that, but it is certainly, I also have 2 Irish stud farms who've approached me to talk about this as well. And these are major stud farms that are looking at how they can get themselves into the Web3 area. And it's something we can sit down and we should all, you know, after this, have a conversation about how we might join forces to help that become a reality.
Great. Well, on that note, I do note that we've run over time. Thank you to everyone who's been on the panel and presented today. We will be posting the material that the presenters have used today onto the WoTA website. We will be providing links to some of the videos where we can, and we will have some contact details for each of the speakers that are here today. so that if you would like to, you can get in contact. But thanks once again to everyone speaking today, and it's probably either late or early where everyone is. So I thank you all for participating, and I hope to see you next time on the next WoTA webinar.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Wayne.
Thank you.
Thanks.